Hello, and welcome back to the Test Drive Podcast, brought to you by Sport Car USA. I'm your host, Lee Bodette. Here at Sport Car USA, we love all things fast. From stock Corvettes to tuned-up Hellcats, we love it all. So buckle up and come for a ride on this week's episode of Test Drive. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Lee Bodette, your host of this Test Drive podcast, also the host of Test Drive on the YouTube channel. Been a radio broadcaster for over 40 years and a car enthusiast my entire life. We're very excited today to have a couple of gentlemen from the Quintin Brothers Auto and Performance in Williston, Vermont. And I'd like to introduce you to Pete Quintin and Mike Desrochers. Pete, you're the owner of Quintin Brothers Auto and Performance. And tell us a little about how you all got started.
Well, yeah, we started back in 99. That's when our business first started. We worked at home. You know, my dad had a gas station for years. So we just found out that we're doing more work at home than we were at work.
And that was in Burlington, Vermont, right?
Burlington,
gas
yes.
station? Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And it was at top of Letty Park, a matter of fact. Sitco station, and we still have the original sign in our shop, so.
Cool. That's worth some money.
Oh, yeah.
You ever watch that show, what is it, where they buy signs?
Picker,
yeah, American Pickers, that's it.
Yeah. So, we still have that there, and we just decided to start our own business, and it's been over 22 years.
Wow, that's great. Mike Desrochers, you've been an employee with the Quintin Brothers for many years as well. Tell us about you and how you got started there.
Well, I started as a customer, which is interesting enough, and my background's been more into electrical and stuff like that. So when we first started our first SEMA project, the guys asked me to come in to help out wiring the vehicle up and putting the sound system in. And as years went by and things have changed in my personal life, there was a change at the shop, and Pete asked me to come in to help out with doing quotes and estimates. And I'm permanently there now at Quintin Brothers and facilitating and helping out with builds and things like that, which is really nice, and being that glue between the shop and the customer as far as communication and their builds.
So how many years have you been there?
I've been there probably off and on for like 3 years. But the 3 years wasn't really a full-time employee. I just more or less been there for the last year, helping out on a permanent basis.
Is it your goal to become a Quintin sibling?
I already am.
Yeah, he already has.
I already am. And that's good and bad.
I can imagine. We'll get into that a little later. And you did bring up SEMA. We're going to talk a little bit about SEMA, the show that you guys go to every year, and Sport Car USA will be there this year as well. But Pete, what is Quintin Brothers Auto and Performance?
Quintin Brothers, I like to say we're like your old neighbor, your garage down the corner years ago. We still do, we do regular automotive, tune-ups, brakes, all that stuff, and we do anything from getting your old car running to full restoration. So we're kind of your all-around shop, but I like to be thought of as like your neighbor, good friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in the area where you are in Williston, Vermont, and of course I know Quintin Brothers for many, many years. You've been synonymous with performance parts and the aftermarket accessories. I guess I want to ask each of you, tell us about one project you've done that you're most proud of, and go into specifics and detail. Mike, we'll start with you.
To be honest with you, I would say it has to start with this 68 Camaro that we did. That was back in 2017, 2018. When we did that car, and that was a collaboration of the entire team. And what was so special about that was the experiences that we all went through. And interesting enough, when you look at other automotive shows, they don't really put in context on how much time really goes in these things, as they only take a week. The project took us 6 to 8 months to finish, but at the end, to be honest with you, when we had people like Chip Foose and other celebrities stopping in our booth and looking at our vehicle, Man, there was such a sense of pride. And I know just looking at Pete and Tim at the time and how they felt about the work that the team did and how everybody contributed to that build and where it brought us to today, I know everybody was feeling really, really good about what we did and what that car did for Quintin Brothers.
Very satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Pete, we'll turn to you now. What's your favorite project car that you've done and most proud of?
Well, I'm probably going to say the same car.
Yeah.
Just because that was built from the ground up, the way we wanted to build it. Nobody told us how to build it, you know. We weren't building it for anybody else but ourselves to show us what we could do. So, I mean, it was a brand new body on it. It was a stock-looking 68 Camaro, but it was all LS motor. It looked like a Corvette interior. Basically, it looked like an old car with all the new stuff in it. So when we went to show that one off, that one also got in CSR2 racing game, video game.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, while we were there, they came down and took like 2,000 pictures of the thing, and ended up you can play that car in the game. So that's the cool part
Oh,
about
my
it.
goodness. So how did they hear about that?
They walk around when you're there. There's people looking at the cars and the color. We fought for a while on the wheel color, and the car was blue. Wheels were a reddish, I would say. So it clashed kind of, but it caught people's eyes. And when they were walking by, they saw it and said that car would present really well in a video game. So they
Nice.
it's just kind of how they did it. They just walked by and picked it out of a lot of the cars. So they were pretty happy about that.
That's a bonus to our podcast. I didn't expect that.
No, that was a
That
big
was
deal.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes that car real special. And it took everything we had to do it. It was we scraped to do it, and it was a long trip. It's a big deal to go there. It's a lot of money to go there. So to get something like that out of it was a big deal.
Where do your customers come from? I know you're based in Williston, Vermont, but I'm guessing you get people from all over the country?
Yeah, we get them from everywhere. I mean, we get them from Canada, New York, Pennsylvania, Florida. There's no rhyme or reason where they come from. We get them from all over.
I know there's a guy around town, and I'm going to say his name. He's known as the Big Hoss. You know the Big Hoss? Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, he's done a couple of, I should say he's brought in a couple of projects for you guys.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on, like, his recent one?
Yeah, currently he's got a 68 Mustang. It's kind of going through a mild restoration, but he is actually doing a motor swap, which has been built by Pete Pizzagalli. And we're doing the drivetrain underneath. It's going to be a really pretty car. A new stereo system in it. The stance of the car is going to be old school, which is kind of nice. Kind of the wider tires, side exhaust. So not as elaborate as his GTX, but what a beautiful car it's going to be. And we're probably about halfway through the project right now with that car. And he actually, ironically, just stopped down a couple days ago to look at the car. Very happy and satisfied on where the car sits today.
He's a real car enthusiast, a real car nut, like all of us are at this table.
Yeah, he's a good customer and friend.
What about that GTX, Pete?
Oh, that was a beautiful car. I mean, he went with OEM grill. He went right for that car when it was done. And every spot on it is just clean. Very nice car.
Oh, yeah. So if you're just joining our podcast, we're with the Quintin Brothers Auto and Performance business, and we have Pete Quintin with us and Mike Desrochers, one of the employees of Quintin Brothers. I wanted to give you guys each a scenario. Mike, we'll start with you. If I brought in a stock base Challenger RT, and I said, Mike, it's yours, what are you going to do to it?
Well, this is a dream build. I would first rip out the motor, and I would actually have that motor forged, and then I would put some sort of forced induction on it, probably a turbo. We've done a lot of superchargers and prochargers. Turbos have a little more flexibility with boost and how much you can control without changing out pulleys. So I probably would put a turbo on it. Stance is important with cars, so I'm an air suspension guy, so I'd love to put it on some air suspension, go underneath and make sure that we upgrade all the suspension parts, probably lower it 2 to 4 inches. Sound's very important to me, so I've got to make sure that engine has got a nice little rumble at idle.
Love the rumble.
And, as far as I'm known for stereo stuff, so I would have to say that, and this unfortunately might not be popular with some people, but I would like the stereo to outdrown the exhaust. That's how big the stereo would be in the car.
The neighbors are going to love you, Mike.
Absolutely. So that would be that would personally be what I would do personally to that car.
Very nice. Same scenario, except a different car, Pete. I bring in a stock base Camaro LT1. What you going to do to it?
Okay, well, I'm a Mopar guy, so if it was a dream to me, I'd pull that motor out and put a blown Hemi in it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But, there's just so many options now with those, if it was mine, I like the power, but I like to be able to drive it. So I'd make it a nice driver. I'd just make all the upgraded stuff to it, some carbon fiber, upgrade the motor, pulleys, things like that. But to me, I like them. I like power, but I like to be able to drive it and have fun with it.
How many cars can you work on at a time? Because a lot of these are restoration projects, obviously, and it takes time. You got to get the parts. You got to get the labor lined up. How many projects do you have at a time working? Kind of like piecemeal almost, right?
Yeah. Right now, if you come down to the yard, we have 28 cars in the yard.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, and I only have 6 lifts. So the thing is on restorations, you never know when you're getting parts. That's the big problem with the restoration stuff and what you run into when you get a car. So you have to have at least, in our field, 7 or 8 going at one time. Just to keep your mechanics working.
Yeah.
Because you'll get a car in a bay and you'll order parts and then you get half the parts. So then the car has to sit until you get the rest of the parts. It's hard to wait until you get them all and then work on it because, it's just hard to do it that way. So if I had more room, I would do as many as I could get in there at one time.
Right. But the people that are bringing these restoration projects to you, they're very particular. They want it done right.
Yes.
And I've seen some of your work. It's just amazing.
Thank you.
Mike, what would you say as far as right now, the car that you're working on that really shines in your eyes?
Boy, we have a lot of projects. That's a difficult one. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you, this one's probably dear to my heart and probably Pete's. But there's one vehicle there that the customer actually bought that first SEMA car. We're actually working on a C10 of his, a 1985 C10. It's got an LT4 in it, supercharged Corvette motor. And that's down to finishing the paint on that vehicle. And just little small things to get it running. But this is a daily for this gentleman in Florida.
Yeah.
So it's something that has to be very reliable, but I would have to say that's probably the vehicle for me.
Yeah. What about you, Pete?
Yeah, I would say the same. Also, there's a good customer and friend of ours also. Beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful truck when it's done. There's probably 2 other ones that I would narrow down probably those 3 of them. We have a GTX that we're doing also. 70 GTX that has an old school Hemi in it, with roadster shop chassis. It's going to be on cantilever airbags. That is going to be a beautiful project. And the other one is we're doing a Model A.
Oh, wow.
For these 2 older people, and it's cool because what we're doing is we changed the suspension, putting a V8 in it, but it's going to look like a Model A. It's not going to look like a street rod.
New frames in it.
Nice.
So when this car is done, and this lady is excited for this car, and she knows a lot about them. So we're happy to do it, and it's going to have the Model A stance, the wheels. You're not, unless you hear it when it starts, you're not going to know the difference.
That's interesting you bring up a Model A. I remember I was at a car show a couple years ago, and this guy drove in with a Model A, and I'm thinking, wow, this is just unbelievable. And he was trying to sell it. I said, you must have people lined up to buy this car. He said, no. He said, Lee, nobody wants these cars anymore because, I hate to say it, the older population that owns them, they're passing away.
Right. They
may leave it to a grandchild, and the grandchild doesn't want it. Have you heard stories like that?
Oh, yeah. We hear that often in a way because nobody knows how to drive the old cars. You know, the newer cars, I hate to say, you come in, you push the button, all the traction stuff comes on, and it pretty much drives for you. These older cars, you have to get in, you got to work the time in, you got to use the fuel, you know, there's a lot to them. And I just think it's a different generation. Yeah. But what we're seeing now is people are bringing those cars to us, and we're converting them to the newer style, but still leaving, because the looks and the body lines are great on those things. So, like this lady, she says, I want to go on the interstate and I want to drive at 70 miles an hour. You know, she says, and when I go to work, I want to show my boss up, compare it to his Camaro, how my old Model A looks, she says, you know. So it was kind of funny with that. And so, yeah, so they're still out there. Just driving them the way they were, people aren't.
I can see the people that are getting the Model A done at a stoplight. Looking over, like, you have no idea what's under this hood.
Right.
Here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Mike, you must have some kind of a design team. Somebody comes in with an older vehicle. They want it restored, but they really aren't 100% sure how to do it or what to put on that vehicle. What do you guys do for that person? Do you sit down with them, get the sketch going, or what?
Yeah, right off it's a collaboration with the customer because we are building their dream car, not ours. It can be very easy to kind of do what we want to do, but we're building their dream car. It's a big collaboration between both parties. Pete's heavily involved in that. I primarily do most of those estimates for customers and the builds, but Pete's extremely involved, including the rest of the team, because we got quite a few people that are probably going to be working on these cars that have ideas. So it's a collaboration of the team that actually helps us out with this stuff. And the process does start with just a sit down on what the customer is looking to do, budget, what their time frame is. If they want renderings, we can provide that for them. For most part, they have a picture already in their head. I just got to decipher that from them. And then once we sign the contract, we're ready to rock and roll. And to be honest with you, with the amount of cars that we're working on now, we're probably, on the bigger restorations, we're probably about a year out right now on that stuff. We are collecting some stuff for winter, over the winter this year to do stuff. But with that being said, I would say that's the process.
Yeah, I agree. We made some changes in the last year on how our process works and everything, and I think it really works out better for everybody. Our employees are more involved now. Each employee has a computer at their own desk now, so they can look up stuff, figure out everything. They're a big part of our business. We allow them to speak to the customers. Customers love speaking to them. So they're part of it. We have a fabrication guy. My son Chris has really stepped up as foreman in the shop. So when we bring a car in, when Mike calls us in and says, we got somebody in there, then we all go over the car first. Fabricator, the builders, the guys in the shop, so they all have their input. So that's what's really helping now.
So I'm guessing there are a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, text messages going on.
Yes.
Yeah, well, part of the process, which is nice, and we do this for pretty much most of the cars, not anything for General Automotive, but we keep a catalog of pictures of everything that we're doing on a vehicle. So as a process works through the vehicle, we are taking tons and tons of photos. We actually give those photos back to the customer once it is done, but we keep them for our records too. But it enables us to see things that maybe we couldn't see at that time. But it also gives a customer that lives in Florida a perspective on what they're paying for by giving them updates with pictures and dialogue on what's going on with their vehicle.
What's the craziest build you've ever been asked to do? Is there something like right out the window here?
I don't know.
I don't know if we've had a really crazy one. I think the GTX we're doing is, I think, like going to be the biggest build we've done, money-wise, build-wise, just because of the process in that car. And it's a cantilever suspension airbag setup, which Roadster Shop made that chassis for us for that car. So that's kind of cool and unique.
Yeah, that one right there, if you get a chance to go on our Facebook page or our website, you can actually see pictures of that GTX in progress, seeing the floor work and stuff that's being done on that vehicle. That one, and boy, I'm not going to speak for Pete. He's going to be like, why did you say this after? But potentially, maybe a couple years down the road when that car's finished, that might be a contender to go back to SEMA.
Yes.
So, because that one is probably going to be, I can't say we put the same amount of passion in every vehicle that we do. Don't get me wrong, but some people just have a little bit bigger budget to work with. So this one will probably be at the top as far as what we're capable of doing as a shop, as far as showing off. Showing off.
Showing off our ability.
Showing off.
Yeah.
It must be really something the day that you present the vehicle to the customer. There must be a lot of pride, a lot of, all the sweat
Pride and
grit.
relief.
Yeah.
Well,
It's leaving, right, Pete?
You want to see it go out the driveway, and you definitely don't want them calling you back,
Right.
the next day.
Yeah.
Other than just big smiles and everything.
Yeah.
That's the thing with these projects is there's so much work that goes into them. There's a lot of bugs you got to work out of them sometimes, and stuff. But when they go and the customer's happy, that's the biggest part. And it doesn't matter if we just dragged one out of the garage to get it running, or the full-blown GTX. It doesn't matter. It's the same either way.
And we're just waiting for the smile, and boy, do some customers have that poker face.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So we're all just waiting to see some teeth. Just to see some teeth. Yeah.
Do you have a huge presentation? You wrap the car, in a blanket or something? Or?
Well, no, I wouldn't. Some of the SEMA stuff, we do that stuff for. But we do go out of our way to present the cars that are in there for restoration work or performance stuff like that. So the nice thing is we have the capability, and we do kind of go over the vehicles and let them know that what's being done. Sometimes even when somebody buys some performance stuff, they have no idea what they just bought and what it's doing really. And it gives us the flexibility to articulate that to them and show them. And they might not realize that some of the things that they purchased have benefited their car in a better way. And when we take those pictures and things like that and kind of go over the build after, they're pleasantly surprised big time because they're seeing things they didn't even know that was going to be there when they first came in. So,
Yeah. What about as far as parts go? Do you try to get original parts? Is that the top priority, or are you going aftermarket?
Well, that again all depends on the build. If we're building a 70 Challenger or a 69 Camaro or something like that, and they want it originally looking, then we look for original parts.
Right.
If it's not, and they just want the car redone, then we go aftermarket.
And you must be searching all over the country.
All the time.
All the time. And to give you a classic example, we had a 68 Chevelle that came in, and we're doing a full restoration on it. And the first thing we do is we look over the cars, and we noticed that the frame was cut off in the front and re-welded on.
Right.
So ironically, we were doing a full suspension upgrade, all this stuff on it anyways, and he wanted to keep the car as original as possible. Well, long story short, the original frame, if I would have put the original frame on top of the suspension, it would have been just as much as if I had a custom frame built. That would have been better than the original frame with all the upgraded components. It took him a day to decide, but he decided to go with the better of everything for the same price.
Wow.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes the customer a day to outweigh, but now he's got the frame. He's got this big shop. He wants to hang the frame on the wall, so he at least has something that reminds him when he bought the car when he was 16.
Yeah, that's pretty cool right there.
So then again, the outside of the car is going to look original,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. You're listening to the Test Drive Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Bodette. We have Mike Desrochers and Pete Quintin from the Quintin Brothers Auto and Performance. They're located in Williston, Vermont. A couple of times you guys brought up the SEMA show. I know you guys have a huge presence at the SEMA show. It's October 31st to November 3rd in Las Vegas this year. And I guess you see cars on display, seminars, exhibitor booths. Tell us about your SEMA experiences, guys.
Well, I can tell you about a good one.
Okay.
Probably a lot of people have heard about it.
Yeah, really good.
Our well-known disaster, or whatever you want to call it, we sent a Challenger, a Super B wide body Challenger that we built. before they were wide bodies. We sent it to SEMA, and it was stolen.
Oh,
so I don't know if a lot of people have heard about it. It broke the internet. We had it delivered there, and it was stolen in SEMA while it was there.
My goodness.
It was recovered, big police chase. It's got videos of the police car running, the guy running into a police car with the Challenger. Then we ended up bringing it to the show to show it all damaged.
Yeah.
And that was an insane ride and a cool car. And the big thing to that is we brought it back home, we fixed it, and the customer now has it. So
Did you say there's a video on this police
there's a
chase?
video.
There is.
How can I see that?
if you look under stolen SEMA Challenger,
Okay.
you will see this. There's probably 300 or more videos, and Pro Charger put up it was in a Pro Charger booth. That's where it was supposed to go. Well, it ended up still going there, but that's where it was heading because it had a Pro Charger on it. So we ended up dragging it to the Pro Charger booth after a lot of discussion with the Las Vegas police because it was impounded because it was used as a weapon. So they ended up, the Vegas police were great. We brought it to the show. It just was a hit. I mean, I couldn't speak for 2 weeks after because he just kept answering these questions. But you can get on the internet, look it up. It's a pretty interesting thing. You can see all the video on it. We were here. We didn't even leave yet, so that was a big story. We just heard it was stolen, and that's about all we heard when we were jumping on a plane.
So you said SEMA stolen cars.
Yeah. Well, if you look under SEMA stolen Challenger.
Stolen Challenger.
Yeah.
Okay. Challenger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stolen Challenger. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It'll come up everywhere.
So you guys are famous
Yeah, well, we got
in a weird way.
Well, in a weird way, and a thing that turned out to be it was heartbreaking because we did everything we could to get this car there for the customer, and when it was stolen, it was you're at the lowest you can be. You know, we were in an airplane, we're flying out there, and we're just going, well, when they steal something from SEMA, usually you never find it, or it's burnt out in the desert and they stripped it all. Luckily, the guy that stole it wasn't smart enough to do that. He decided he wanted to drive it around.
How did they steal it? Did they find the keys somewhere?
No,
Security around?
no, that was interesting. So it was trailered, and there were some things that you just never would have thought about. But it was in a gated area,
Yeah.
and they literally ripped down the gate with a truck,
Oh.
and then grabbed another truck and pulled out the trailer sideways to get the
Yeah.
vehicle out.
But he thought the deal is if you look at the story, the whole story is he stole the truck to steal his trailer. Well, he stole the truck out of a parking garage, and there was a gun in there. The guy calls, "Hey, my truck's gone. There's a gun in there," and all that stuff. And they got a picture of this guy coming out of the parking garage because it takes a video when you stop at the thing. So he went in, took that. I'm not sure if he knew there was a car in it. There was a lot of those big 4x4s and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if he knew what he got in there, but the keys were in the cabinet of the trailer because there was only one set of keys, and the tow guy that took it out for us took it, had him with him. So I would think the guy, when he backed the car out, he said the fob wasn't there, and he destroyed the trailer trying to find it. So he was out joyriding. There was a big story on that car, but we ended up getting it back. We finished it, and the customer has it back.
It turned out to be the single largest attraction at
Yeah.
SEMA.
Oh, it was funny. We're at SEMA.
goodness.
We're at quick little story, and there's a lady behind us, and she's probably got $1 million Challenger, or Charger it was.
Yeah.
Just beautiful, right? And she walks over, touches me on the shoulder. She goes, "Enjoy every minute of it," she says. "I paid millions to get where you're getting today," she says. I said, "This ain't the way we wanted to do it, though." But she says, "No." So yeah, it was a pretty strange ride.
The most ironic thing is we all kind of came up on the car at once to go get the vehicle, and we were so surprised to see what kind of condition the inside was. It had a baby seat in it. It had cigarette butts in it. It was just
There's a lot of stuff in it. Yeah.
It's amazing. We were just like, what is going on?
There was stories about that. Yeah, he's out doing burnouts at his friends' places, and it's quite a story. You got to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do.
So that's the wildest one we ever
That's
had.
the wildest
We don't
one.
want another one of those.
Yes.
No.
So on a normal SEMA show, what does your setup involve? How does that?
Well, usually part of that is kind of partnering with a vendor of sorts. Depends on who that is. We obviously work with different manufacturers, but we try to get into a vendor-supported booth and we basically show off our build in their booth based on a product that we're supporting for them. And that starts out a year ahead of time, because it's flooded because everybody wants to do that. And as time has gone on, it maybe has become a little bit easier for us because we have a name for ourselves. So there's people now that want our cars in their booth. But that's where it starts, is negotiation on maybe there's a different booth that we want to be in this year. We've done our own booth. Second year we did our own booth called Quintin Brother Dream Builds. That went very well, but we also were in an area, we wanted to be back in the main hall where most of the action is happening. But that's where it starts.
Yeah, you want to be in Hot Rod Alley. That's the main part of SEMA. But we were really lucky, and a lot of hard work from our guys at the shop. Yeah, like Mike said, you got to start at least a year or so ahead of time. Like our first one, our Camaro went in was with a Fessler booth. They build glass. They do panels, which is the flush mount glass, so there's no moldings. That's how we got in their booth. We used their stuff, their windows, their door panels, in our Camaros. So we just got talk with them, became friends with them, and they decided that our car was nice enough to be in their booth. So that's, if you get indoors at SEMA, that's a big deal, and that's a lot of pride if it's your car there.
Yeah. Did you guys get a couple notches up because of the stolen vehicle? Did you gain?
We don't know. Well, we'll see when the GTX is done, maybe, if that is, because it does take a lot of money, time, and effort to go there. It is a lot of work, but it's well worth it when you're there. Like Mike said, our next build, the GTX will probably be the next car that goes there. But we're hoping maybe we have a little clout now, yeah.
Actually, the one thing that I would say about SEMA, which is the most challenging part, is being there and having a vehicle is trying to take the time to go look at everything else.
Yeah, you never do it.
This place is so massive that it's almost virtually impossible to see everything and to look at everything. But we had the flexibility. A lot of times, being a vendor, you get a chance to go in an hour early before the crowd gets there to walk around. But some of these halls are so huge, it's just so challenging. But that's probably the fun part, to see so much. It's sensory overload. And once you go, in my own personal opinion, there'll never, ever be a car show like it.
Yeah. Oh, never. No, you guys
Never.
going? Is that
We're
right?
going. We're going. Yeah.
So this is, I'm going to tell you, this is, have you ever been?
No.
Oh, it's going to be the best experience you ever had.
Really?
They put on a great show, and when they do SEMA night at the end of it, they do a big parade, ends up with a big party at the end. You know, at the end of the week when it's done, you won't bring good shoes. I'll tell you to bring good shoes, a lot of water.
I'll bring my Skechers.
Yeah. Because you're going to do a lot of walking, and when you walk down and you look at one vehicle and you go, that's the best car, nicest car I've ever seen, you turn around and then you see another one. And they're all different, from trucks to BMWs to Mopars to Chevys, anything. It's there.
Well, the SEMA show, as I mentioned, coming up October 31st to November 3rd. It's in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Sport Car USA is planning on being there. Can't wait for that. It's funny you're talking about, not really funny, but it's just an expression. But when you're talking about the stolen vehicle, there's a scam that's been going around here, and Sport Car USA has been made well aware of it, that there are people going to dealerships that are test driving vehicles.
Yes.
And they're coming back and they're slipping you a fake key fob.
I've heard that.
And then they come back later on that night and steal the car.
Yep.
So
I've heard about that.
be careful out
You
there.
got to be on everything. Oh, yeah. You got to be aware of everything.
You really do these days. Absolutely. So, Mike, what's your daily driver?
Believe it or not, I have a 2019 Ram 1500.
Yeah.
That's my daily, and I also have a 2005 GTO that I've had since its inception.
I've seen it.
And 18 years now into that car. I don't know how much more I can do to it, to be honest with
Yellow,
you.
right?
Yeah.
It's on the dyno right now.
It's on the dyno. I don't know how much more I can actually do to that car. But I was talking this morning. I think I might be parting ways with it.
Really?
Yeah, I've been really wanting to get a AMG Mercedes C63. That's the next car. Not brand new, but maybe like a 2016, 2017, and doing something with it.
Make sure you come see us at Sport Car USA, because I'm sure we would like to buy that from
Yeah.
you. Don't know if we can afford it, but...
Well, I think he's throwing that out. What he's looking for, too.
Yeah. Pete, your daily driver, and what sport car do you own?
Well, I'm a Dodge guy throughout because my dad would not let me park anything else in the yard. So I'm a Mopar guy. So I have a Dodge Ram 1500 as my daily driver. My car I've had for, well, it's made a few changes, but a 65 Dodge Coronet. I have it at the shop. Maybe one day, this will be back on the road and running, but that's my dream car. That's a car I've always wanted to put back on the road. I had a four-door when I was in high school, and I owned that for a lot of years. That went from street racing to drag racing to back on the street, and then sitting in the backyard. And then I've always wanted a two-door version of it, which we found. So now I have a two-door 65 Dodge Coronet, which are kind of rare and hard to find. But just sitting in the back of the lot right now. But that's the car when I have some time, and maybe a little extra cash. That's the one I want. And I'd like to put that low to the ground with a blown 440 or something in it. And,
Of course.
And make it just a real cool street driver. Yeah.
I've always said this, and I actually mentioned it on a couple of our podcasts, that as you grow up, there's certain cars that you don't really think are that cool. Maybe it's a Pacer, maybe it's a Maverick. But then you see it 30, 40, 50 years later at a car show, and you sit there and you look at it and say, wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you guys too?
Yeah, I was like Chrysler. Like I said, I'm a Chrysler guy, but I noticed like the Chrysler 300s and the Cordobas, stuff like that. Like now, I always kind of liked them, but now I look at them, they're just cool.
Yeah.
They got good style to them. They were way ahead of their time. I don't think people really looked at them the way they were. But that's if I go to a car show now and see something like that. That's what I think is cool.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yes.
What did he used to say? What do you say? Yeah, Quintin. Yeah, I used to do those commercials.
Yeah, I had a 1 years ago, 69, I think it was. Love that car.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that I kind of wander through and see.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a dream car or a dream project that you thought of? Like, boy, I'd like to have that car. I'd like to work on a vehicle like that. Anything?
Well, ironically, I would love a Lamborghini, but I can't fit in it. So I'd have to go through some weight reduction before I could fit into that thing.
Cross that one out.
Yeah.
For now.
But no, I personally don't. I would tell you for myself, I've had the luxury of being able to figure out some things in life and getting things that I enjoy doing and having. I think that Mercedes is my next project, like I was saying earlier. I don't have any, grandeurs of like a GTR or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, those are nice cars. But man, I just still feel my first car was in a 1970 Nova myself. And that's how I got hooked on muscle cars just in general. So I like things that are loud and obnoxious and have a stereo system in it.
Yes. They're just, right. Yeah.
He likes his
he's a big stereo guy, so if anybody
He
needs
does.
stereo work done, he's really good at it. I have a 75 Dodge truck at the shop. We call it our shop truck. And it's another one just sitting out back, but it wasn't a road. It's going to get back on the road. Just that old truck like that's cool. It's a bench seat. You got to open the vent window.
Motor's done on it.
Yeah, motor's done on it. Oh, and that's a blown 440 going in it. So you see where my theme is.
Yes, I do.
So cars like that are cool to me, but any car right now is just neat to see.
Yeah.
To me, I think as I'm getting older, I mean, like I said, I'm a Dodge guy, and that was just my thing. But now it doesn't matter what it is. If it's just if it has nice body lines, I like the car.
You appreciate them.
I appreciate it, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate them a lot more,
Absolutely. So anything you guys would like to add before we wrap up this podcast? Quintin Brothers Auto and Performance, they're based in Williston, Vermont. What's your best pitch for Quintin Brothers?
My best pitch probably is come in and say hi and see the group that's there. I'm lucky. I've taken sole owner of the business here a little while ago. The guys at the shop are amazing. Just come in and say hi to them. Yeah, they're all approachable. Stop in and say hi, look around. I I think that's it. I think, just come on in and say hi to the guys.
You guys pretty much do it all.
Yeah, we do it all. We try to do everything. And it's not an easy business to be in. And it's not an easy business to find people in. So we do regular automotive and restoration, so we're always looking for people.
I would say
all the time. That's the hardest part about this business.
Yeah, I would say that's the big thing. We're always looking for people. So we're always looking for, people that have the love for vehicles.
Yeah.
We really need people that really love cars.
Not easy to work on. Yeah,
But the biggest misconception with our business sometimes is, people see all these really nice fancy cars that go out, but our general automotive business is a big part of our business as well, like Pete said. And we do work on your average customer's car and make sure everything is running to get back and forth to work. We're very competitive with our prices when it comes to that, which is nice. We don't overcharge because we do other things. But the nice thing about that is you get somebody that potentially works on a $500,000 car, work on something that's a little less, and put the same amount of pride and passion into it to make sure that car is safe.
Yeah, got to have a lot of passion in your business.
You got to,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. You guys know, in your business too.
Yeah.
You've got to be, you got to want it. You want to be there.
So we want to thank you guys for being with us. The Test Drive podcast is heard all over the country. If somebody has to or wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
You can reach us in a couple places. You can go to quintinbrothers.com. It's got all our information on there, along with plugs to go to our Facebook and to our Instagram. And you can call us at 802-951-8678.
Yeah, and I want to say thanks a lot for having us. And,
Thank you.
It's good doing business with you guys too. Hopefully we get some shows this summer with you, and I think we've got a good kind of partnership with you guys, and I want to keep that going. So I appreciate you having us. Thank you.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you guys very much. Pete Quintin and Mike Desrochers of Quintin Brothers Auto and Performance in Williston, Vermont. Thank you so much for being with us. And we want to thank everybody for being with us today for the entire Test Drive podcast. I'm Lee Bodette, your host. And we want to say that our next podcast will be coming up in about a week. We try to do one a week. And we'll see you next time on our Test Drive podcast. And remember, let's never forget the men and women serving this great